gonna take a tour of the Aronia berry field, and then we'll go inside and make some Aronia berry tincture. Not a very good harvest this year. The last 2 years I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of pounds off of these 75 or so plants. And we had a late frost in May, and so it killed all the blossoms that were setting on at that point. But we do have some, enough to make a little tincture. But yeah, they're coming along. That's what they look like. You want them to be this real deep purple is the ideal color. And they are ready to harvest about this time of year, pretty consistently. We've gotten some decent rains. Oops, that one's not a great one. You want them to be that deep purple. And I do have, oh, I bet you by the time I'm done picking all of these, I bet I'll get 20 or so pounds this year, and that'll be just fine. So before we go inside and work up the Aronia berries, I wanted to come over and share a little bit about these wonderful berries. These are elderberries. I have just one elderberry bush in my yard, and I planted it for the wildlife to enjoy. But about 2 weeks ago, I did decide to come out here and, hey, you get off of there. Come out here and harvest some of these elderberries and make up some juice, because I just wasn't sure how much I was gonna get on my Aronia berries. Okay, I just got in from picking the Aronia berries, and I have them all washed up here. I only got about 7 pounds. It just took me under 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half even, to get them all picked. I knew there wasn't going to be many this year, but as I was picking, I was thinking about my tincture, and I was thinking about that juice that I made with the elderberries, and I was like, you know what? I think there'll be enough for me to make some juice. And then I was getting thirsty, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a batch of tea, and I'm gonna infuse my tea with some Aronia berries too. And so I've made plenty of the tincture before, but I have not made the juice that I'm gonna make. I have not made that recipe with Aronia berries before, and I have not infused an iced tea with Aronia berries before either. So those two recipes that I'm going to use these for, those are new for me, but if you're seeing this video, they turned out. So here we go. Aronia berries 3 ways with a little under 7 pounds of Aronia berries. Our first recipe is going to be tea. First things first, tea time. So I was out in Salida, Colorado some months ago, and I stocked up on some different bulk teas. The name of the place is Vital Living, and this one is a white tea, so it's the one I'm going to use today. And this little contraption here, this is an automatic teapot, and it basically is just a teapot on a hot plate, but this little thing gets hot and it will boil in a hurry. And so on brewing teas, temperature wise, if it's a white or a green tea, you don't want to get it to a full rolling boil. You want to just get it to where it's about to boil, which is going to be about 180 degrees. And then you want to shut it off and let it steep. Or if you're using your microwave or your tea kettle or whatever, if you're using white, greens, or herbal teas, the general rule is lower temps, because if you let it get up to a hard rolling boil, 200 degrees and above, you'll have a bitter tea. Now black teas, they can go a little higher. They can go up to that 200 degree or so temp. I'm gonna put About 3 tablespoons in here. And then I just thought, for fun, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna put some Aronia berries in here, and I'm just pinching a few to break the skin ever so slightly. I just thought it would be fun to try to infuse the cherry. It has cherry and almond in it, and now it'll have a few fresh Aronia berries. Just a couple for fun. And then I'm going to fill this up with water, and then we will boil it. And we're not gonna boil it, I take that back. We're gonna steep it. We're gonna get this to the boiling point, and then we're gonna shut it off and let it steep. The electric tea kettle is just about to a boil, and this is white tea, remember, and we want to do our best to keep it at 180 or so degrees and not any more for the best flavor. And then we'll let it steep for about 20 or so minutes. So it's just about to boil. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. There we have it. On to recipe number 2, my Aronia berry tincture. So I was introduced to tincture about 3 or so years ago. I was at a meeting, and one of my coworkers at the time was putting something, a dropper full of something, in her bottle of water. And being inquisitive, I asked her what it was, and she began to tell me about tincture. That tincture was cayenne tincture, and I was just fascinated. And she was explaining how she felt that tinctures really helped to boost her immune system and prevent her from getting colds and other illnesses. And so I became really interested because I just love that. Herbs and herbal medicine, apothecary, anything like that. And so I started studying it, and I thought, why can't I make that with my Aronia berries? And I know there's other types of berry tinctures, so it led me down this path, and I started making tincture about 3 years ago, I guess now. And what I want to say about tinctures is study up on it. I'm not an expert. My recipe is just what I do. It's what I've felt has been awesome for us. It helps, in my opinion, in my experience, reduce inflammation, prevent colds, shorten colds, start getting a scratchy throat. We start taking tinctures, 3 dropperfuls, 3 times a day, under the tongue or in tea or water or something like that. And I really feel like it helps. So the other thing about tinctures is it's not for everyone. So please consult a doctor, do your research. Don't consume tinctures or anything as a supplement without talking to a medical professional, of which I am not. So without further ado, I will show you my method for making Aronia berry tincture. Okay, you just put some berries in a jar. You can go up to halfway full, and you want to take some sort of tool, because mine's all stained up, and break the skins. Okay, just ever so gently break the skins. And then take your solvent. All tinctures are, well, they're all extracts. And what you're doing is you are putting a solvent in, and with tinctures, you want to use an 80% proof alcohol of some variety, okay? You're gonna put the berries in there, and then you're gonna fill the jar up with your solvent, okay? And then you just let it soak for 6 weeks. You're gonna give it a shake every few days. And then at the end of 6 weeks, you strain it off, and then you can put the medicine if you will, back in the jar, and then put it in. You can put in those little dropper vials. Some of the keys with making tincture that I found, again, not an expert, is you want to store them in a cool, rather cool, definitely dark place, and you want to reduce fluctuations in temperatures. That's the key with tinctures, and they'll last 10 years. I've seen some that say indefinitely if they're stored properly. Put a lid on it, give it a shake, and that's it. And you'll have this jar for years. And let me show you the little vials that I put it in. So here's a dropper vial, one of these amber vial jars with a dropper top. And what we do is 1 dropper full under the tongue or in tea or water, as I said, 2-3 times a day. I've really noticed how this helps me with inflammation, as does the juice. But this is great in the winter, and it stores forever. That's what I love about it. So I always have this, plenty of this in the cupboard. So that is recipe number 2. Recipe number 3, Aronia berry juice. I have not made this one before. I did make this same recipe with my elderberries, as I said earlier, and I was so pleased with how it turned out. What I'm going to do different with these Aronia berries, because I have quite a few more Aronia berries, and I think it's going to make quite a batch of juice, is I'm going to can it. So after I get done cooking it, I am going to process it in a hot water bath, and so I can store it and have it through the winter. So I'm excited about that. So here's my ingredients. Number 1, the Aronia berries. There's about 5 pounds, I would guesstimate, left, maybe a little bit more than 5 pounds of Aronia berries, okay? I cut up 1 lemon, some ginger, and you can change this. You don't even have to add any of these. When I made it last week with the elderberries, I really loved the cinnamon that I could taste in it. And so this is in the ginger. I could really taste the ginger as well, and I'm a big fan. But a lemon, some ginger, a couple sticks of cinnamon, and then here's some whole cloves that I'm going to put in as well. Again, this is all optional. You could just process the berry juice and have straight up Aronia berry juice that way, but this is delicious. What I did with the elderberry juice, I just got 1 quart jar when I did it last week. I would take about 1/3 of a cup, and I would drink it straight, because elderberries do have a little bit of sweetness to them, unlike Aronia berries. But on that, I would drink it straight, or I would take about that much and put it in a cup with some orange juice, or I did a lemonade. I did an elderberry lemonade one day, and that was very delicious. It was like 1/3 elderberry juice and then the rest lemonade. And that's what I'm going to do with this juice as well, or I might put it in teas. Okay, this one is super simple as well. Just going to put all my optional ingredients in there on top of the berries, and get some clean water and pour it in. It's going to be a bring to boil, reduce to simmer, and then I'm going to simmer it for about 30 minutes. I was having a hard time deciding the most efficient way to strain these, and this is what I've come up with, so we'll see how it goes. I got one of my old food service stainless steels, and strainer. I put the mesh strainer, that's a tongue twister, back over my pot, and I'm just gonna gently extract more of the juice. Okay, I'm getting closer to the finish line. I'm just putting my Aronia berry juice that I cooked for about 30 minutes into my pint jars, and you want to leave about a 1/4 inch or so head space. Just a touch more there. Remember, I sterilized these jars. And then, again, this is what I was always taught, and to help with making sure they seal up, I always wipe my lid, the top of my lid, and then put my seal on there. There we go. Make sure it's really tight. There you have it, 1 jar. We'll see how many more we get here. Okay, I got 5.5 pints. So I will process these in a hot water bath for about 10-15 minutes, something like that. And when you're processing in a hot water bath, and I'm sure there's many videos on how to do that, you want to you want the water to come up over here, you know, at least 1 inch over the top of your lids when you're processing that way. And then this 1/2 pint that I got, I just put a plastic lid on it, and I'll put it in the fridge, and I'll just drink it over the next week or so. Well, I'm all done with my Aronia berry processing. 3 recipes. We have 4 quarts of Aronia tincture, and then I played with some Aronia berries, and I put some in my tea. And then I just took the juice. This is a new recipe for me. I just took the juice, excuse me, out of the canner, and I'm gonna let it cool. I always let my canning cool under towels and to keep the drafts off of them. And once these pop and I make sure they're sealed, I'll put these down in the cellar, and then I'll have Aronia berry juice for the winter. 5 pints here, and I'll probably take it like in a shot glass at times, and sometimes, as I was saying earlier, I'll put it in something like orange juice or apple juice or lemonade or even tea. So the possibilities are endless. I hope you enjoyed this.